Good Sunday afternoon, coming to you from the west coast of North America on this special Sunday afternoon Pleiadian late night talk. I'm Rocken Larry Locken, as always joined by my host, the Ravishing Raquel Toombs from north of the border in Vancouver, BC. And some of the things, I haven't really heard a lot of shows done on this, and the thing is, I think that this is really an opportunity to really open up some dialogue. We're going to talk a little bit about mental illness and various illnesses that plague the starseed community. Some of us starseeds have grown up with maybe, self-abuse patterns, suicide attempts, and the fact that, all of us are empaths too, and we feel what others feel, and we feel their hurt. And we're just going to talk about that, and we're going to, hear a little bit about Raquel, talk about some of the things she's gone through regarding that, and, how she's changed her life today. So, Raquel, with that big, long Sunday afternoon rambled on opening I gave, how are you? And, hey, what's going on in the Great White North?
Sorry, I'm good, Larry. I'm going through the physical as usual. It's been pretty rough the past couple days. The energy coming in. I'm thinking there may be some solar flare activity, because I know the physical is definitely amped up when there's solar flares, but I never really look into it. But yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I guess cosmic ignorance is bliss. No, I'm just kidding. You already know it all. What the hell would you need to look into it for anyway? My goodness. But this subject we were talking about, and we were talking about this before the show, about some of the things that you've went through in your life. And this is a touchy subject for a lot of people. And I don't blame them. These things cause a lot of grief and pain. But I just kind of wanted you to get into, to start off with, maybe talking about some of your experiences with these, and whichever ones you'd like to share. Whether as far as any of those subjects that I mentioned at the start of the show, go for it, girl. Take the platform.
Okay, well, I'll start off about touching a bit about when I was really young. When I was really young, I would see auras around people, and my dad's grandma passed away, and she was the first person that had passed on that had contacted me, and I knew a lot about her. And my dad was scared, so he kind of beat me up because of it. I've been abused in every way you can possibly think when I was younger, and in my teen years, and even as an adult. I've been, the addiction, of course. I've been raped. It just, went through so much. And I was diagnosed, when I was younger, they didn't know about ADHD back then, but I'm sure that had it been later, they would have labeled me that as ADHD. So basically, I was just, I was taking a different psychiatrist or psychologist, and they just told my parents, well, she's just a bad kid, just lock her in her room. So for a few years, I would just be locked in my room after dinner, and then be let out, before school or whatever for breakfast. And I think that, that really, really stayed with me throughout my life, because, when I was younger, everything was beautiful, and I was so connected, and then I just thought that was normal, and then all of a sudden, I start, I'm being natural, because it's a natural thing to see things and to feel things and know things when you're so new. And then, I was told it was wrong, and because of that, I still kept that part of myself. I was still very connected and knew things and saw things, but I knew it wasn't accepted. And so I think even kids nowadays and stuff are being diagnosed with attention deficit, or depression, or different things, and that's so not what it is. It's the fact that they're stifled, they're not allowed to be themselves, and unfortunately a lot of them are being abused and ostracized and labeled and highly drugged because of it. Sorry, I'm off track here. Yeah, so okay, Larry, help me out for a second here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Label on it. Sorry, I think we were running over each other. But what I was saying was, the ADD has always been misdiagnosed, and they still quite had not labeled it yet when I was younger, right? Like you, and so now, right, they've got all their kids on all these drugs, whether it's Adderall, Ritalin, which basically Adderall is basically prescription meth. So they've got all these kids on that, and really, it's not a matter of that. There's simple things, that's why the whole school system, not to get off target, it needs to change. It needs to be focused, first of all, once kids get a little bit older, to what their talents are and what they want to get into doing. And you've got to keep, you've got to keep kids of these, these indigo kids of the past few generations focused on what they want to do. Otherwise, they get bored too easy because they know it all. But that's a whole other subject too. And there's just, it's crazy. So hence, I've got to ask you, we were talking also, you'd mentioned being in your room, right? All those hours, okay, for those couple of years.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of environment would be the reason why? Because I've always wondered about people that have, say, self-inflicted wounded themselves, like maybe cut themselves right once in a while to escape that pain. Is that kind of a situation or an environment that would produce somebody to have no other outlet but to do that kind of shit like that? You know what I mean? To do that. It's so sad and tragic, and I just wonder what.
On the subject of self-abuse, like I was a cutter. I have scars like all over my arms, and I've got several suicide attempts also. But to get into the self-abuse and the cutting, that started as soon as my dad was he was a cop, and then he was a prison guard. He was a very bad man. he abused my mom and me very badly. And so when I was young, I didn't realize this until I got older, but my mom left him when I think I was about 11, and that's when I started, when I started abusing myself, started, cutting myself with razors and stuff. And because for me, even before like the drugs, and drugs are very similar to cutting, because when you cut, it's like you don't even, you feel an initial pain, but the pain is good, and then it's hypnotizing, and it's just like, it's almost like I used to feel when I discovered heroin. Like, it just calms me, it soothes me. And it took me a while to realize why I did it, and the reason why I did it is because pain was my life, right? Like, I knew pain. I became, it was an old friend of mine. It became my comfort. So when my mom left my dad, I had that, of course, that pain that I carried with me, but I didn't have the physical abuse all the time anymore. And I guess in some sick way, that was just, me being so used to the pain that I wasn't complete without that pain. I didn't know what to do. So I started, cutting myself, and I think that's why a lot of people do it, and also it's like I said, for me it was just like a drug. It was a release. It's something I needed to do at the time, and yeah, it wasn't a healthy thing, but that was just, and also and I found that quite often as I got older in life, because I did it all the way up till I was, in my late 30s or early, probably late 30s. I found that if I was experiencing a great amount of emotional pain, like dealing with this overwhelming emotions or emotional pain about something, that would be what I would resort to calm me down. And so the emotional pain, I guess, because also physical pain for me was like I said, so familiar. It was something that was a big part of me, and it was much easier for me. Like I would think, for sure back then it would be like, yeah, just give me physical pain, not the emotional pain. So I would take that emotional pain. I couldn't handle that emotional pain I was in, so I would cut myself and inflict some physical pain, and that would just calm me down. It was a quick fix, like heroin would be, or Valium or something,
Would you still do it though? This is kind of, I know, makes like a stupid question. Would you still do it when you were getting high though, or would that take the place? Would it matter? These are just things, that go through my convoluted.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely I still did it throughout many years of my addiction. I mean, I discovered heroin when I was 23, I think. Me and my son lived in this townhouse, and the people, he became friends with this little kid, and his dad was a heroin addict, and I was into the coke and angel dust and stuff like that once in a while, PCP or whatever. you know. And so I said, do you have anything for a headache? And he's like, well, yeah, but I don't know if you want to take it. And I had a really bad headache, and so he gave me a little line of heroin, one line, and bang, that was it. And it was like, you know, a love affair with the stuff for a while, and then after a while it was just, you know, hell. But you know, yeah, I used it because a lot of people think, you know, heroin addicts or heroin addiction, well, you're nodding off all the time or you're always so out of it. And yeah, I guess that's true to a certain point, but then after so many years of using it, and I was injected, you know, I was an IV, I was a hardcore IV user for 20 years, right? So just the thought of it now, of sticking a needle in my, oh my God, like, just, I don't even know how I did it. It just, but yeah, no, I would, because using for that long, it also, it numbs you, but then after a while, it's like an accumulation, like you've stuffed, like it numbs you for so long, but really all the emotions and all the pain and everything is still there because you've yet to release that. So when you're doing a lot of drugs, besides the heroin, like towards the end, I was on 12 different types of pharmaceuticals, and I was abusing those, everything from antidepressants, mood stabilizers, sleeping pills, Valium, Ativan, just everything you possibly, and methadone and heroin and all that. And towards the end, I would buy about $20 worth of GHB a night just to fall asleep. Just to fall asleep. Like, my tolerance was like, oh my God, like I should be dead. But
I know, and I want to you know, cut in right there, just real quick, not to interrupt you, hon, but you're right about that, and I touched on that another show of mine about starseed addiction. And you know, I had a really bad opiate addiction like that too, which was heroin basically, but really strong 80 milligram Oxycontins. Had a doctor that was giving me an ungodly amount, even some behind the scenes, for a while. And you know, I would snort like 10 of those a day, and most people would die on one a day. They're so strong, it'd be like taking 16 Vicodin at once. Oh yeah. And so, right, but you know, fortunately, like now, all these years later, 7-8 years later, I don't remember really the high of it anymore, thank goodness. But I never used the needle, but I would crush them up and snort them, you know, close my office door, fucking do that. And you know, it's just, and we can handle a lot of everything too, until we finally crash. Like, it's that, and you can, some sleep, you know, downers to go to sleep with, Valium, whatever. Like you were talking about GHB, I've never done that now, but I've heard of people just using it, which is the date rape drug, but people just using it to crash for 4 hours real hard. Yeah. Like I would try to, with a handful of Valium or whatever when I was, you know, going to school and using meth when I was younger. And you know, so it's just one of them things, you know, and I agree. So it just gets back to that topic of we really look to self-medicate, but I'm really fascinated in hearing your story, and the reason is because I've always wondered what it was like to to be into something like self-infliction, like, because I could totally, like, always just hurt for it, and I'd wonder what was the stimulation or the attraction of it. Now I understand it becomes the rush, and it becomes, you know, fortunately I was just a spoiled only child that you like to use a lot of drugs when I was a teenager just to get high, you know, and have fun. But so I can only imagine what you went through, and I'm you know, I'm glad you're here with us now, and I'd like to hear more about it if you want to share.
Yeah, well, I think that, like, I know with me, the first time I attempted suicide was when I was 8 years old, and I had watched, you know, those what were they, those afternoon TV movies, and they always had some kind of theme, and this one was about suicide. And of course, I think I was probably 8 or 9, because it was before my mom left my dad. And the show was about teenage suicide. And this girl, I guess, went into her mom's bathroom and took some medication. And she ended up, I think they ended up saving her. I don't remember. But anyway, the movie gave me the idea. And even by the time I was 9 years old, I wanted out. I'd had enough, and I just didn't want to be here anymore. And my mom was taking Valium at the time. She was an alcoholic for many years. She's been sober for many, many years now, which is awesome. But she was an alcoholic and taking Valium. So I walked up to her bathroom, and I took her medicine bottle out and took a couple of her Valium and went to my bedroom and laid down. And I guess I had missed a day or two of school. And I don't know. Everything's kind of I didn't tell my mom that I did this until just recently, or until a few years ago or whatever. but nobody even really missed me or knew. I guess I just crashed in my room. Then I came to, but I've attempted suicide so many times that I remember this one time I purposely tried to OD on heroin, and I was with a friend of mine came over to my house, and I remember everything going completely black, and then I remember hearing my son cry, like finding out I was dead, and he was crying, and my mom, and I remember feeling the pain of everybody. And then it was like all of a sudden I was like, because I was in this really black place, I wasn't on the couch anymore, I wasn't like anywhere, I guess my friend James was yelling at me because he realized that I wasn't breathing, and but I didn't hear him. I was just in blackness, but I could feel and hear my son and my mom in their pain, and something just kind of whoosh, like brought me back, and then I just kind of sat up and opened my eyes, and James was just freaking out, and yeah, so I know it definitely. And then after that, there was many attempts with, I would get, like, I'd go to the drugstore every 2 weeks. I'd get my prescriptions instead of them giving them to me monthly, and so that would like consist of like probably 30, 30 different types of each pill or whatever, even just for 2 weeks. And sometimes I would just take pretty well all of them the first day I got them. And like really, I don't, like, my doctors and everything don't even understand how I'm even still here. And it really was seriously, like, I attempted to kill myself so many times that my mom, I'd call her at work and I'd say, okay, Mom, I just took, whatever. And she'd be like, holy, Raquel, like, what do you, okay, well, I'll be home in a few hours. And my mom's coworker said, oh my God, go home to her. And my mom just said, you know what? This has gone on, her whole life. Like, I don't know what to do here. Like, whenever I go home, I check on her and she's still breathing. And I always told my mom, like, don't call an ambulance. Don't call an ambulance. If it happens, just let me die, right? Because toward the end, I had kind of like, convinced myself too that, this is my choice. I want out now. So if I'm going to do this, this is my choice. So fuck you, Mom. Don't you dare call a fucking ambulance because I want to, so imagine my poor mom, like, I mean, that's how she lived with me, and she just got to the point where she just kind of had to, even with the addiction, I know that some people are just, your family, they have to distance themselves from you, and they have to, cut you off, and they have to, because you just don't realize at the time that you're going through it how much you are killing your family, how much you're hurting your family members, how much they worry about you. Yeah, I mean, and then I was admitted to the psych ward. I actually went in there on my own. Like, I went in there willingly because I was seeing a psychiatrist, and he was one of my first psychiatrists, and he said, okay, well, we need to get a proper diagnosis. In order to do that, we have to, you have to go into the psych ward. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I go in there willingly. Well, I was on methadone at the time, and the main psychiatrist there, her name was Dr. Bright, well, Dr. whatever, she wasn't so bright, and I guess she was bipolar herself, and she didn't like me because I was on methadone, and so they took me off of everything, all my medications, and they pumped me so full of lithium, and when you take lithium, you're supposed to get blood tests because they have to monitor. That stuff is brutal, and they also have to give you something to help counteract it. They can't just anyway, so they pumped me up so full of it that and they told me that I'd be getting a regular room, whatever, but they kept me locked in an observation room for 7 days, and basically, like, the nurses knew what was going on, and they knew it was wrong because I said to them, for 3 days, I think I pushed my bed into the middle of the room, and I just did laps around my bed. And I was crying, and I said to the nurse, can you please give me a sleeping pill? What is this doctor giving me, and what are you guys doing to me, and please give me something to sleep. Like, I was crying and begging her, and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, sorry, we can't. Excuse me. And then it was really weird because I wasn't even planning on leaving or anything, and but yet I had packed up, my one bag I had, my clothes I had in there, and I had packed it up, and the nurse, they had a video camera on me the whole time, and I had some paper and a few pencils and some tape, and so I kept standing up on the bed and taping the paper over the video camera because I didn't want to be watched. So yeah, that was oh my God, that was an ordeal. But this one day I just packed all my clothes into my bag, and the nurse came in and said, oh, you're leaving us? And I said, yep. I said, no, I just felt like packing my bag. And my mom was at work, but for some reason she just felt that she should probably leave work early and come see me, and she did. And that was, I think, after the 7th or 8th day I was in there and so fucked up on the lithium, I was pretty well blind. I couldn't even see. And that was the first time that the psychiatrist said, okay, well, the psychiatrist wants to see you or whatever. So it was me and my mom there. And she looked at me and she said, she goes, you shouldn't be in here. You're a fucking drug addict. And I said, I got so mad. Okay, this is terrible. But this is what I said to her. I stood up. I said, you fucking bitch. I'm going to crucify you, slit your throat and bathe in your blood. What do you think about that? And she said, I'm committing you. And so they needed 2 signatures. I mean, I was so angry and I was so screwed up. Normally I wouldn't say that to someone. That's an awful thing to say. Like, that's for sure going to get you committed.
I don't blame you. I'd have flipped out too, yeah.
Oh, I was just, like I didn't hurt her, but I threatened her, right? And so she goes, well, guess what? I'm committing you. Like, na, right? And so at the time they needed 2 signatures. And like this was, you can totally see now why all these things happen. But she needed the 2nd signature from the other psychiatrist that worked at the hospital, and it's just outside of the town that I'm in. So there was a swing bridge at the time. So when the bridge opened for the boats to go through, the cars had to wait. So while she was calling, that doctor, he was stuck because the swing bridge opened. So that the nurses knew I wasn't supposed to be in there. So they, like, I had, like, nail clippers and whatever, or hair straightener or whatever behind the desk. So they were hurrying up, and they're like, okay, leave, right? So me and my mom managed to leave before the doctor got there. And then she took me to my doctor at a clinic, and he's like, I guess I walked in there. I don't really have much of a recollection of it, but I guess I was telling him he was hot and asking him if he was single because my mom was single, right? I was trying to set them up, I guess. And my mom's like, oh, God, she's not normally like this. And the doctor says, yeah, well, I know. Well, what are they giving her? So he called the hospital, and it ended up they were almost overdosing me on, I was being overdosed on lithium, and they weren't, monitoring me or anything. So it took a couple months, probably about 3 weeks or to even really know that I was home again and to know what was going on. I know for the first couple days I was home, I guess I wandered outside and was sleeping outside in the winter in near the, I don't know, it was a bad thing. But that's how screwed up I was. And I think too that this is kind of a little bit off topic, but not really. I think that a lot of people that are awakening and experiencing, like, if they are experiencing the severe, like me, as far as like the sudden body movements and my head whipping around and stuff like that. I mean, I think that there's probably many people now that are in psych wards and that are being medicated and stuff because their kundalini activated and they're, they had an abrupt awakening like I did maybe. That's what I think about, and I think, that's so sad, but that's probably the case, and for a lot of people, they're probably, like, people like that are just, I can see how when someone kind of, have people looking in on someone are thinking, okay, this person's having a breakdown. That's what Janice thought at the beginning of my process. She thought, oh my God, like Raquel's losing it, because I knew I was dying, and I told her, like, I'm dying, Janice, I'm dying, I know that I'm dying. So she was looking up on the computer about a psychological break or whatever, complete mental break, and that's what she figured was going on with me. So I can see how an abrupt awakening or whatever happened to me. I can see how someone would think, okay, well, shit, this person's having a total mental or psychotic breakdown, and then end up being institutionalized or put in the psych ward, and then that's going to stop. That's going to stop the process, because then they're going to pump you up with medication, and then it's not going to allow it to happen. So I just thank God that, that it worked out.
No fun medication either. Take you off all your, your opiates, take you off your Valium, and put you on that lithium that makes you just in pain, but a fucking zombie completely. Keep you, try to break you like that. I mean, the system just, man. But you know what? You got. It was really great how it ended, how you got out of there. But still, girl. Oh, in the United States, no, that would have been a lawsuit. Actually, down here we could have, got the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe and gave them got a good settlement. But yeah, I mean, it's just that happens, and Exactly. And, people think somebody's going crazy, especially people that have had the quick, rapid ascension like you have
Yeah.
versus having it. I mean, we seem crazy enough people that have had it spaced out over a few years, but it also, people can see these bone changes and physical changes in you. And it just like, I know you're lucky you didn't get sent to that zoo you were talking about the other night on the show. But I mean, and it just so what do you think also too, like as far as being like if we were talking about empaths, I mean,
Yeah.
being an empath, right, as far as that plays into how we feel. You were mentioning something to me in the pre-show, giving me a good analogy, and if you want to run through that again about when we see somebody on a TV show getting kicked in the nuts or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's empaths, which we all know about, but it's not only just a spiritual and emotional thing. It's also it's in our DNA, right? There's the mirror neuron, which which all humans have. It's in our genetic structure, genetic makeup, which makes us like when we watch like America's Funniest Home Videos and we see someone like get kicked in the nuts by a kid or whatever, or somebody go off a swing and hit a tree. We got that, we feel it. It's like, and it's not just because we're empath, but because we're made that way. It's in our DNA. And I was talking to Janice about that earlier, and we were saying how like what a wonderful thing it is. Like, well, I shouldn't start out by saying that, but when tragedies happen or natural disasters or bombings or any of those terrible things happen, the wonderful thing that we see in humans now are people of all creeds, of people of all genders, of people of all races, people that might be even prejudiced or whatever. But these people, you jump in and you do what's right? You do what's right because it's a situation where everybody, you just help. You don't even think about it, and because it's not a conscious thing, it doesn't matter if you're a racist and the person you're pulling out of the fire or whatever is black or Muslim or whatever. It doesn't matter because in those times everybody is human, and even though we see that when tragedies happen, I like to kind of look at that as, that really gives me hope, because that kind of shows that it's not it's not a natural thing to be racist or to be, or to dislike someone because of anything about it. It's not natural to be totally separated and to judge other people. It is natural when you don't even have to think about it, and boom, you help all regardless, right? So then this stuff like this happens, and you see the best in humans, and then then it ceases and everything goes back to normal, and then those people are now in the conditioned mind, so their racism kicks back in, or their religion, whatever they're bound by, or whatever that separates them kind of kicks back in, and then they forget about that. But that just shows me that that's not even, that's a lot of times that's not even, a conscious, that's just the conditioning, and how quickly a tragedy or something terrible that can happen, and when you don't even have to think about it, and everyone works together. So we should try and figure out a way for that to happen all the time. Minus the tragedies.
Yeah, if we could just exist in that level of consciousness and be more of a responsive society instead of reactive. Don't just react to everything like we do. Be responsive, have empathy, not sympathy, and just kind of be in that state of consciousness all the time. What this guy Brewston calls the honeymoon phase, that I love reading his material. If we could, we get out of that though, and we get stuck back in worrying about the mundane things in life and whatnot. But if we could just stay in that focus like that and be like that with each other all the time, it would really be a much simpler, easier society, despite what people may think. I mean, it would be wonderful. And
I think
and I just wonder. Yeah, but go ahead, sweet. Or I was just going to say real quick that I just want to thank you too, because I hope that what you went through. It's just amazing when I hear these stories about people that when they were younger, fellow starseeds that were into cutting themselves or other self-inflicted abuses. I just hope that it was done so that what I mean, other generations, the consciousness is raised, so more people, children won't feel that they have to do that, and people won't feel that they have to do it as adults, or just period. And I just hope that, that's what it was for, was to teach a lesson. And so, I just wanted to say that while it was on my mind. I'm thinking I'm thinking a little slow here on a Sunday afternoon on the West Coast. But you seem to be pretty ramped up, so fire away, girl, if you have anything to say to add to that or to what you just were saying.
Well, I do know, like, there's so many people right now, and it's pretty prevalent right now for a lot of people to be saying, well, why do we have to experience so much pain, and why do we have to experience so much darkness, and why does all this shit have to happen to me? And I realize that everything that I've gone through in my life, the rape, the child, the childhood abuse and molestation, this, everything I've gone through in my life, I realize it's all been. It's been something that my soul agreed to before I even came here, and it's all been essential to to be where I am and who I am today. And I've had people say to me, well, if you could go back and change things, what would you change? And I kind of, well, nothing. They're like, you're shitting me. Like, that's BS, right? Of course you're going to change, right? You want to be right. And it's like, well, no, those weren't, consciously my choices back then, but I have complete forgiveness and acceptance and closure on all that stuff. And those are things, and I know right now there's a lot of people that are still dealing with that, and they haven't transcended that yet. They haven't accepted that yet. They haven't, they're like, why? They're still asking why. And I really hope, well, I know that it's a process to get to this point, but I can tell you, when you really, take a look at things, and when you realize that you don't have to hold on to that stuff anymore, you don't have to, the pain and stuff that that comes from living like that for so long and being abused. And when you're a kid, I mean, that's not your fault, right? Like, you got to realize, like, the way I look at it is that the people that did that to me, they were sick. They were hurting and they were sick, and that's why they did it, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have. So I kind of look at it that way, and so then I don't feel angry or I don't feel hatred towards anybody, because I realize that they were sick themselves, and that's why they did it, right? But yeah, it's we don't have to hold on to the pain and stuff. I know for me, as far as transcending it, I mean, I let it go when I was ready to let it go, because for a long time I really didn't think that I didn't think that, I mean, I wasn't used to being happy, and I guess I felt that I needed to hold on to some of that pain. Why should I be happy? Why do I deserve to be happy? But then I just everything when you're ready, and all that's that all that's behind me now, and I see why all that happened. And I may sound crazy, but I feel glad that all that happened, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't experience all that stuff. So yeah, I'm totally happy, and I'm ecstatically happy that the way my life is gone. I mean, it's just I don't want to say it's a miracle, but what happened to me, like, it was just like bang, like night and day, and it hasn't been an easy process. It's been pretty intense, and it's still really intense, but holy shit, how beautiful is life now? Like, it really is. It's just amazing. And how resilient are we?
For the great Raquel Toombs, apparently extremely beautiful. Yeah, and like you were saying, it's a process, right? And I feel like you're really testimony to that, because you've kind of came through to the other side as far as that goes, and it's a whole other thing, like the point you're at, where you finally get full of that feeling of realizing that and letting go of it completely. You go through that phase where you're resentful, then maybe you're like, okay, well, I know I should let go, but then doing it and saying it and doing it, of course, as the saying goes, are two different things. But to get to the point where you really realize that it couldn't, your life needed to go exactly the way that it went, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I have a friend whose son right now is he's still in addiction, and he's on the street. There was this thing that I read, and it's basically, how can anybody be happy, be completely at peace and be happy in heaven, knowing anybody else is still suffering? And that used to really hit me hard. And now it's kind of like, because of the fact that I know that every soul is on its own path, and that's the path that that soul needs to take. Every soul in this world is on its own path, and what they're experiencing is what they've what they need to experience and what they've chosen before they even came here. And I know reading that it may be like, okay, a big concept or whatever, but when you truly get that, like when you truly get that and you know that, then everything kind of, it's easier. It just makes things so much easier to know that, and that I think frees me from feeling the pain of other people, because I was an empath as well. Ever since I was a kid, I would cry because I would feel the pain of the whole world, and I would hold on to not only my pain but the pain of everybody. And so I think how you can, once you do get that, and once you truly know, like, we don't like to see anyone hurting or anyone going through any discomfort or pain, but once you truly get the fact that unbeknownst to us, there's reasons why people are experiencing the things they are, then I think that that just gives you a lot of peace and a lot of comfort. And I know that with me and my friend discussing that, that's really helped her to be able to deal with knowing what her son is going through right now. Just truly knowing that, not just thinking that as a concept, but truly knowing that and getting it.
Yeah, it's quite a difference, isn't it? Are we still on air?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. I love it. Live radio,
Hello.
internet.
Hello.
Yes, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It was I loved it. It was a small meditation, real quick. Second, an instant meditation. Yes, this instant meditation is brought to you by Canadian Pleiadian. Yes. We're all Canadians, should be Pleiadian, and it'd be a better country, right, Raquel?
If we're all Canadian Pleiadians?
Oh, I don't know. Are you ringing the bell?
Yes, I'm ringing. This is my SOS.
Are you ringing the bell? Is it time for our Sunday afternoon Pleiadian worship services? No.
Yeah. Done. Okay.
Yes. Are we gonna? We're not gonna have to climb a fifth. We're not gonna have to climb 80 stairs to get to the top of the temple, are we?
The temple is within. You are the temple.
There you go. Thank you. Oh, that's the best news I've heard in years. Gosh, I think about it. I don't even have to get up from the chair. Yeah, no, exactly, though. And you know what, though? What gets me, though, you know what I think frustrates me, and I'm here at a loss for words. It's like, what is it that we're all on our own path, and it's like, I feel like, what other advice can we give people, that have been through what, they're, maybe in that position, you and others like that have been through, or, some of the shit I've been through. It's like, how can you?
Well, I think that the fact that that we're all finding each other right now is something very, very positive. So I know that there's still people that are still dealing with a lot of the pain and the sadness, but the thing that really gives me hope and is wonderful to see is that we're all being brought together. So you can be damn sure that it's for a reason. There's a divine plan. There's bigger things going on that we can even that I can even grasp. Really, it gets bigger and bigger. But at least we're all connecting. So even people that are still in that pain and they're still going through that, we're all connecting. So everything, so have faith, trust in the process, keep the faith, and know that you're on the right path. It's going, and I know saying, well, hang on, it gets better is kind of cliche or whatever, but it does, it really does. There's it's all divine timing, it's all divine plan, everything for a reason. And no matter where you kind of are in your path, just at least you're on your path. So straighten your back and keep walking, and know that it's all working out the way it should.
Yeah, really, I was going to say before you said cliche, I was going to say it's brought to you by the Reverend Toombs. I know though, and what I was thinking while you were saying that too is that I want people to understand that when we say keep the faith, I mean the divine plan. What Raquel is saying is true, and we're not asking you to believe us that it's true. It's how many more daily examples do you need to realize that it's true? The synchronicity. This isn't some false prophet preaching of Billy Graham or Jim Baker or Raquel and I aren't running a religious foundation and and want your mass donations. I mean, but what I'm saying is, don't believe us. Open up and look at what's going on. Weigh that against any other other bullshit maybe you've heard in the past, and we're not wanting you to come join Raquel's cult that she's got in upstate or up province in British Columbia. No, I'm kidding. But look around. Really, don't take our word for it. That have faith. Seriously, it's part of the plan. You were here for a reason, and this is the time we're in right now. I mean, this isn't the 1960s, 70s, 80s. I mean, this is a different time, and there's just too much resonance. And if anytime you doubt it, look around, and I mean, the resonance is pretty obvious. If any of that made sense.
Well, also, I mean, shit, man. I lived through like the darkest of the darkest times, and I get some people messaging me trying to, giving me advice saying, oh, well, you got to, maybe the next step is for you to do this or for you to, and it's kind of like, I was talking to Janice about this earlier too. I had a friend that was a satsangi dude. I don't know much about satsang, but a spiritual movement or whatever it is, and he always told me, don't help anybody unless they ask for your help. Now, me and Janice were laughing about this because she kind of took that literally as, okay, if someone dropped something as they were walking down the street or whatever, I'm not going to help them because they're going to do it themselves. But no, this just means that don't be so quick. Like, I know that we through our experiences, we want to help other people. Like it's not just a want, but it's kind of our responsibility to share our experiences and help other people. But if someone doesn't come to you and ask you for your advice, it's probably best not to just assume and send them, give them advice or some whatever, or just say, okay, here, because really you don't know that person, you don't know where they're at. So unless someone comes and asks you for their advice, I just think that it's kind of out of line to just start telling other people what you think they should be doing. Because really, nobody knows where you are on your path. I think that's pretty good advice. Even people that come to me and ask for my advice, I basically just refer them to the professional, to the ultimate person that would to go to ask anything, and that would be themselves.
Yes, I've also noticed on a personal level too that as far as getting advice sometimes about shit you don't feel you need to know about, you also can be like talk to the hand. Yes, I know you wear that well too. It's like, you don't just throw somebody, just, okay, here, I think this and I think that, and you should do this and do that. And yes, I agree. Nor I know from experience you don't like getting that kind of advice either.
Well, no, because because those are assumptions. Those are total. You know what they say about assumptions, right? It makes an ass out of you, and you. Never mind the you and me, just the you.
Yes,
so think about that, right? Perhaps think about that, please. Thank you. Don't make an ass of yourself. I'm getting loopy, Larry. Loopy, Larry.
I know it is. It's getting into the loopy Larry, loopy loony Larry. Yes, scary Larry. Yes, we'll do a show on all the nicknames of Larry. Yes, Raquel Welch. Yeah, well, I think that's pretty much. I think we pretty much said it all. It's but like when we were talking last night, when you were like, okay, we'll do, and I was thinking about doing it today during the day. We agreed to do it today, and you're like, well, at first you're like, you must have been loopy, because you're like, well, wait a minute, it's supposed to be Pleiadian late night. And I said, well, we don't exist in time here. Plus, girl, it's late night. Shit, it's late night somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And I think with that, unless you had any more words of wisdom for the public out there, or wanted to...
We didn't really cover like what we were going to cover, like as far as, I don't like to use labels or anything, but
right, there you go.
Yeah,
yes,
we
labels.
Didn't really cover that. Yeah, well,
we need to.
Okay, well, last night, with my process in the beginning, as far as the going through the physical death, going through the physical death process a few times, and seeing so much, like apparently people say I'm a walk-in, but I don't, I don't like to label myself, but I can say that that I'm new. I'm totally new, and as far as I think it's only been like just over 10 months or 11 months or something. But I know that I remember a lot of my old life, but when I think about the experiences that I had, everything I experienced, the emotions, whether they were happy or sad or painful or whatever, I don't no longer feel the emotions behind them. So when I look back on my experiences, it's almost like in a third person. So I know that I experienced certain things, but I don't feel any emotional attachment to it. And also the person I was, I'm nothing. Sorry, I don't even know if I'm ready to really talk about this yet.
No, it's okay, totally. Exactly. I know. Because I can understand what you're saying. I remember too, like even before just my regular awakening, but I don't feel like a lot of the emotions of it. But yours is a little bit deeper, and yeah, this is probably the most important subject of the show we need to touch on. So just take your time and.
Okay, well, last night I went to
Genesis.
Last night I went to Genesis for a body talk session. I have a friend named Richard Downs, and he does this thing, and it's a group or an event, and it's loving prayer into the hearts and minds of world leaders. And he's a shaman, and every time I read any of his stuff, I tear up. I can't even read it, and it touches me so deeply. And I got an invite to that, and then this is kind of how it all started. I got an invite to that, and I started reading it, and I can't. It just makes me cry. It makes me so emotional. His energy, whatever. So I went down to Genesis, and she was going to do a body talk, but my body refused it. She's like, no, your body doesn't want a body talk. I'm like, well, what's going on? So she asked what was going on, and I said, well, she goes, how are you feeling? And I said, well, this is how, and she goes, well, why do you think that that he or that group or his cause or whatever really makes you feel so strongly? What is that bringing up? And I said, well, maybe because my dad was into politics, and maybe because of that. But then I thought I had worked through all that, and so we did she did some tapping, and we did some talking, yeah, I got a very clear confirmation of Arcturus or Arctur, I forget, I don't know how it's pronounced, Arcturian or whatever. I got a very clear confirmation about that. And everything just kind of became really clear. So when I went through my process of the physical death, I was able to write a bunch of stuff down beforehand, because it happened, I think. See, what would happen is after I didn't eat anything for 7 days, and I didn't sleep for 10 days. I was in a cocoon basically. So I was in this big blanket, and it wasn't all cotton. It was a combination. So it kept some of the sweat or whatever in. So I was in this blanket, and seriously, like I was completely cocooned for 3 days on the floor, and I don't even remember a lot of what happened during it. But I know that during the times when my heart stopped and my breathing stopped, and I lied there and my body just went cold, it was a very gentle transition. It was the way that, I guess, the way that the soul swap or whatever happened. It was very very gentle, and I was allowed to have time to kind of prepare and and I sat Janice down and I said, okay, this and this and this, and I told her, you know, a bunch of things. These are the last things I have to say, because at the time I didn't know what was going on. Like I said, I just assumed, okay, well, whatever's happening, this is what's happening, and I just accepted it and let it happen. And I figured, that's it, this is my death. And yeah, it absolutely was my death, but I'm still, you know, so, but oh boy, so I was able to write down a lot of things, and the process, I guess it was a 7-day process, and it was kind of like a gradual thing. So I got to say kind of goodbye, and I don't know, I still haven't processed a lot of it. But I know now that it was a decision that my soul had made. And like I said, I don't research, and I'm not going to research. I just really need to take the time to process all this. And so, you know, because I'll get more, things will become more clear. But I can say that it, you know, the awakening was not a gentle nudge or anything. It was like bang. But that transition period, or that whatever happened within those 7 days, it was it was a very like gradual, like kind of gentle thing. And yeah, I don't know what else to say right now.
Well, why don't we go ahead and just dispel, you know, we were talking about labels. We were talking about that's called, that's labeled usually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people will use the term walk-in, which, you know, to me, I completely agree with what we were talking about before the show about it. It's another one of those labels, and it's such a really small way of saying really nothing about what the whole process is. Like you just gave, you gave some great description, and with that term, it just seems like it's, you know, it's played out like any other term. We get hung up on labels, and you know.
People have asked me, like, okay, what are you? Are you Arcturian? Are you Pleiadian? Are you well, and my answer is always in the here and now, I'm a fucking human. Pardon my language, but in the here and now, I'm a human. In this world, I'm a human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the in our multidimensional beings, like, I mean, I think, oh yeah, I was going to mention, you will be meeting, you know, aspects of self, and some of them will be scary, some of them will be bizarre, but we're incorporating all of them back to one being that's, you know, one whole. So with me, I've incorporated, like, I've come across, like, towards, I guess probably about a month into my process, Janice was doing a body talk session on me, and all of a sudden, like, I mean, yeah, I get the weird movements and the clicking in my head, and my neck flips around, you can hear it cracking. But besides that, all of a sudden my eyes closed, and there was a lot of pressure, and there was something really dark in me. And my head was like, and this thing was looking for the light. It was looking, and you know, it didn't scare me, because at this point, like, really nothing could scare me. Like, I mean, I've been through so much, like, you know, it didn't scare me. It was what it was, but it was really bizarre. And so I was like, and so Janice, bless her heart, oh my God, thank God for Janice. She does the body talk, and all this bizarre stuff happens, and she's so calm, and she just, you know, just lets it happen, right? Which is so awesome. But yeah, whatever this was, and it was a different being, but it was an aspect of me that was looking for something, I guess, looking to be connected. I don't know. It was in the dark anyway. And it happened probably 2 or 3 times before I finally incorporated it. And I can only say this from my experience. I don't know if it'll resonate or what words to really use, but I'll just describe it the best I can. And that is, I just loved it. Okay, I love you, and just, you know, accepted it and loved it, accepted it, and it hasn't happened since then. But I know very strongly that was a very bizarre, dark aspect, you know, of my multidimensional self, right? So, yeah, that's the first one that I've experienced and incorporated, and I'm sure there's probably more to come.
Yes, I'm sure that there is, and you know, that really resonates with me what you're saying, because I've seen the change in you, and it seems like maybe you had that one little thing hanging you up for a little bit of that darkness, and you just let it go and showed it love completely. And I applaud you for that completely. And and as I'm zoning out here on a Sunday afternoon on the Pleiadian late night, it's like a late night, but we're just kind of being loopy, like you said earlier. But yeah, I know the good news is, though, we're in the same time zone here in 3D world, where all we can be is fucking human, like you. Like, I was thinking too, you mentioned a lot too, and you got me even curious. Your friend Janice, I mean, the body, mainly with that, she does that body talk that she does, right? You don't ever hear, I mean, is that something that's not, I mean, you don't hear that in any of the groups ever. You don't, that I know of, at least. I don't see it in any of the healing kind of things, or the Reiki or whatever. I don't see posts for it, offering it or anything, or like talking about it even at all.
No, it's something that really has to come to the forefront, because I was talking to her today about it, and to me, a lot of the movements that I've been given, the hand movements, she's going through the same thing too. And what's really bizarre is, since the beginning of my process, I've been doing what I can only describe as some sort of bizarre goddess dance. And to me, it's like I'm giving thanks. Like I'm giving, like I'm like ritual, and I'm giving thanks to the universe, to whatever. And Janice describes it as like a hula dance, and how I can describe it is like like an Indonesian ritual dance or something. The way the hand movements, I've got these specific like hand movements, the way my arm moves and stuff. And this means like I don't dance, yes. But I do now. But this is like just kind of bizarre, and it's so awesome that she experiences it too, right? Because like then I guess we're both.
Well, you guys are both like me.
Huh?
Well, you're on the East Coast. You're on the East Coast of Lemuria, the great Hawaiian type civilization. BC. So.
Wow.
So that kind of really resonates with what you said too. So there you go. You guys are a couple of Lemurian hula dancers, maybe, spreading the love. Yes, I guess. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, when we were discussing, sorry, the body talk. I really feel strongly, like I said to her, to me, it feels like it's like an ancient kind of like Lemurian thing, right, or Atlantis thing or something. And what it is, it's basically a series like of movements. Like she'll move my wrist in a certain way, and my body talks to her. So she's not it's not like Reiki or anything where I know like Reiki is great, but I find that with a lot of times with Reiki, somebody's going in and they're using their judgment on what on what's out of line with your body. With a lot of healing techniques, I find that it's the practitioner, it's the person that's healing, that's doing a lot of the, okay, well, this needs to be adjusted. At least that's been my experience. I'm not saying that's for all, but that's just kind of been my personal experience. So with the body talk, she'll move my hand and my wrist in a certain way, and my body's telling her, she'll get a response from my body, and my body's telling her, okay, well, this is what we're going to work on. We're going to work on your lungs. And then it's basically like a series of tapping, like tapping in different places. And yeah, it's been really, really cool, because it incorporates body, mind, and soul all together, and it encourages your body to kind of fix itself on its own. So it's not like it's someone else coming in saying, okay, well, let's see, we got to do this, this, and this. It's her her kind of waking up that part of my body that's kind of been dormant or asleep. It's because our bodies know what to do to heal, and with body talk, it's just been wonderful, because she just encourages for my body to do what it does naturally, and it's been essential for my process. And I'm trying to get her to maybe share it to the groups, or maybe come on sometime soon and talk about it. And I'm hoping she will soon, because it's been essential in my process. And I've shared the Cortezes. The Cortezes technique is a series of tappings on the head, and it really, really stabilizes you. It really grounds you. It's a really quick fix for anxiety, for really anything you're going through. It's a great balancer. And I've posted a link to that once, and someone said, oh my God, that's what what is it called? First Ground Action Live Crew or something? Anyway, First Action Ground Live Crew. Anyway, apparently that's what they use, the technique they use. So yeah, it's wonderful, and it's really amazing stuff, the tapping and the body talk, and we'll definitely get into that. Now I'll bring some information, forward, and to see what Janice can do to share on that, because it's been essential. It's been an essential ascension tool. So yeah.
Yes, we need to have Janice on soon with the body talk. I feel that it'll happen when it's meant to happen. You know what I mean? And I can't wait for that, because I really feel like it needs to be brought to the forefront and at least put out there as, hey, look at what this can do and look what this is about. And maybe, kind of trips me out in a way. It's like that it hasn't been already, but everything for a reason and at the right time, right? So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So. Larry, pardon?
Google Hangout in the PEP. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I think that should be about you. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add to that or anything? And before we wrap up this episode of Pleiadian Late Night Talk on a Sunday afternoon on the west coast of North America.
Pleiadian Late Night on a Sunday afternoon. No, that's one hell of a contradiction.
I know, no kidding. It's like it rained all day tonight, or rained all night today. Indeed. I'm really reaching at this point, huh?
Yes, you are.
There
so
you
let's
go.
end the show.
We're being summoned. Let's end the show. Okay, real quick. Let's set it up. Of course, Raquel Toombs. Raquel Toombs is, yes, she's chiming everybody to the 88th step of the 88th parallel.
We're now entering the 33rd dimension.
You're now entering the Raquel Alive zone, yes, in Vancouver, BC. Yeah, 9 hours up the coast in a direct line from Rocken Locken down here in the southern Oregon coast. And also, we would like to also say that hold on, there was something I need to say. Okay, we can find Raquel Toombs, of course. I'm sure she would tell us from her own words. We could find her on our timeline. If you're interested in finding Raquel, you can find her on her timeline on Facebook. You can also find her in Canadian Pleiadian, the group she admins. She's the head admin of, and the mothership group of the Alien Tribe Shapiros, of course. The Mothership Pleiadians group, which yours truly, Rocken Larry Locken, is also a part of. And I think that's, everybody. I think everybody could know where to find me. I'm the bald guy with the rainbow coming off them. Raquel's the rainbow warrior holding it down. The brunette goddess holding it down up in Vancouver, BC, not Washington, by the way, like some people may think. Yeah, here we go. Here comes another bell. I'm getting ready. We're getting ready. Uh-oh, we better get up to that 88th step to the worship. We're going to worship the moth. One more bell to ring.
It's not a bell, it's a singing bowl, and it's put away now. Sorry.
Sorry, good. Okay, good. I think I set it all for you where they can find you on your timeline. Your timeline is on your timeline.
Yeah, I think how they get to my timeline is probably through Facebook. Yeah, probably that. Yeah.
And
you said it all.
Yeah, and they could type in Raquel Toombs. Okay, good. I think we've told everybody. I think that's a wrap. And hey, well, if we don't see you in the future, we'll see you in the pasture. And this is, of course, Larry Licious, your delicious host with the most from coast to coast, always keeping the cosmic toast. Rockin' Larry Locken, Looney Larry, or Loopy Larry, like Ravishing Raquel referred to me as early in the show, saying good night and sending everybody off with a big dating game kiss, a big dating game cosmic kiss. Mwah!